came up on deck fully clothed with my harness on, and we kind of had it out. And I put my foot down and screamed and yelled at him, and he flinched. He flinched. And that was the first time I ever saw, wow,
Hmm.
I have power here. I have some
Hmm.
power here.
So we are joined today by Leslie Johansen Nack out of Seattle, Washington area, and I'm very excited. She's getting ready to launch her third book. She's an award-winning author, and I mean, quite frankly, she's been through it. And she's brave enough to actually put paper to pen or pen to paper. And I think the whole journey is a courageous journey on both sides of the aisle. And I appreciate you really kind of pulling the curtain back for so many people who don't understand how addiction happens and the journey of addiction and the journey to recovery and what that looks like, sounds like, and feels like. And so, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. So, we're going to start with your origin story, kind of these key points in your childhood growing up and the key points moving forward.
Well, I can just say that, okay, where to start? I mean, I guess you're born into a family that you're hoping is going to be functional and healthy, but it's not always the case. So,
Right.
my mother struggled with mental illness and alcoholism and addiction. And my father was this strong, overbearing type from Norway who emigrated here and met my mother, and they started our family. And I think they tried to do the best they could. I've come to make peace with that they did the
Hmm.
best they could with what they had. I think we've evolved a lot in the last decades as far as people having more skills to parent and to
Right.
recover themselves from traumas from the past. But that doesn't mean that that was happening in the 60s and 70s. So that's
Hmm.
kind of when I came. I was born in 61, and my dad was a person who was thinking outside of the box most of his life, and he wanted big things in the world, and he came to America to find his dream, and he wanted sons and he had daughters. And so that's sort of where we
Okay.
start. That's sort of
Okay.
the start where he was disappointed. He was disappointed all the time that he didn't have three sons. And we definitely got the message growing up about that. And he valued men and boys more. And that was always a challenge because it always made me feel
Mm.
like I just wanted to do better. I wanted to not be like the other girls. I wanted to prove that I was worthy. But anyway, they got divorced when I was 7, and my mom struggled big time, didn't have the tools, didn't have help, but my father took custody of us early on. And his dream, first, we lived on a ranch in Northern California, sort of like Laura Ingalls. We had no running water, no electricity, no anything. We lived out in the middle of nowhere on 63 acres. And he built a house and a barn, and we biked to school. And my mom sort of was in town. And from there, he had a dream to sail around the world and traded the ranch for a sailboat, a 45-foot sailboat in Southern California. We all moved down there, not my mother, but we all moved, the three girls and my father moved there, and we learned how to sail and spent the next few years getting ready to go around the world. And we left for Tahiti in 1975, and we were expected to know everything about the boat. I was sort of the favorite, and I sort of took to sailing. I loved sailing. I loved the ocean. I felt the spirit of it. Even as
Hmm.
a child, I was so drawn to it. So, anyway, we had all these adventures, and he was pushing us all the time and also abusing me privately. It started at 9, and it kind of went up until 14. We had left for Tahiti, and I was really afraid all the time being on the boat, and he
Sure.
separated me from my sisters, and he put them in the forward bunk and me in the aft cabin, and I just knew he was coming for me, and I was gonna bite and kick and scream. And he pulled an emergency drill in the middle of the night, which we had been trained to do, a no man overboard, and he made us sleep naked. So we were naked all the time. And at 14, I came up on deck fully clothed with my harness on, and we kind of had it out. And I put my foot down and screamed and yelled at him, and he flinched. He flinched. And that was the first time I ever saw, wow,
Hmm.
I have power here. I have some
Hmm.
power here.
Hmm.
And he kind of heard me. He heard me when I said, stop it. I know what you're up to. Leave me alone. And
Yeah.
he did. And he never really did touch me again, but I didn't know that at the time. I just didn't know if it would hold. I never knew. I was always afraid. So I was always really only 45 feet, not very much space. And so at the same time, I was learning how to navigate with a sextant. I was learning how to sail a boat on my own. I was feeling good about myself, but then he would cut me down, and it was this back and forth. It was kind of complicated. And so anyway, we get to Tahiti and my sister gets hit by a car and she has to go back to Canada with my mom to convalesce. And my older sister was seasick most of the time, so she went with them. And my dad asked me to go with him and deliver a boat from Tahiti to San Diego. So we took on some crew members and we sailed back. And when we got back, he sent me to Canada to be with my sisters and mom. And sort of just bad decision after bad decision as you're growing up. And I was, almost 15 now and pretty defiant and pretty strong-willed and pretty much felt like I could take care of myself without anybody. And I just started making bad decision after bad decision.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's hard not to,
Yeah.
honestly, given the circumstances, and you were kind of left on your own.
Yeah.
And so you only have like this much in terms of having made decisions or knowing what decisions you could make. And so when was the wake up for you to like take your life back in a way that you could craft who you wanted to be moving forward?
Wow. I mean, I don't know. I think that was happening on a weekly basis because in living with him, he was constantly saying that I was stupid and that I would never amount to anything. And my response to that was a fierce, "You're wrong, and I'm going to show you." Whereas my older sister, when he would tell her that, she would say, "Yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm never gonna." It depends on your personality, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So either you're
Mm-hmm.
a fighter or you're not a fighter, and I am
Mm-hmm.
a fighter.
Clearly.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
think I was born that way. I mean, I'd like to
Mm-hmm.
take credit, but I don't think that that's just part of my DNA and how I am. It's like, I just don't want to take the defeat. And if you tell me I can't do it, I'm going to show you that I can. And so I think I was starting to make myself every time that one moment when I screamed at him at sea was a
Mm-hmm.
really big moment for me. And
Yeah.
it made my heart beat for years to come. I would be just there was a part of me that kind of really enjoyed the fact that he flinched. He flinched
Mm-hmm.
when I said something. And so, I mean, I felt like I was worth it. I don't know why. I don't know why I felt like I was going to make it, but I just kept making bad decision after bad decision. And in the story in 19, the story I just told you was a story of 14. And that came
Right.
out 10 years ago. So that was the original memoir that came out. And everybody read that and they said, "Well, what happens next? What happens next?" And I was like, "I don't think I want to tell you what happens next."
Right. Right.
It's not easy. It's not easy.
Yeah.
But eventually, my sister passed away. My older sister passed away after 14 came out. And I just stopped writing about family at that point. I needed to heal. I needed to take care of some things. And my mom
Sure.
was not happy with 14. She was not happy I published it and made me promise not to publish anything else till after she was gone.
Yeah.
So I had been working on 19 for a long time. And then, so now it's coming out finally. But anyway, I don't know. I have an affair with our family therapist. I run away. I end up with a older man in Miami, someone I had met. My father was like a James Bond kind of guy, and he was always doing something out of the box. So his latest thing was he was going to recover stolen boats. And I was like, yes, Charlie's Angels was on TV, and I was watching it. And I was like, I can be nice. I want to go with you and recover a stolen boat. And so oddly enough and weirdly enough, he let me go with him. And we went to St. Martin and we recovered a stolen boat from this man who had sailed away with her from Miami. And I kind of got aboard undercover and was a cook and tried to act like I didn't know anything about sailing and would run every morning and tell my dad what was happening on the boat. And this is just like one little chapter of growing up
Wow.
with him. It was like
Yeah.
a constant. We delivered a boat from Hawaii. That was a lot of fun. I got to take my best friend with me. He did a lot of really great things, but it all came at a cost. And it
Mm.
looked so great in the front. It looked like oh,
Yeah.
lifestyles of the rich and famous here. She's traveling all over the world. But behind the scenes, it was like this cat and mouse kind of thing where I was like growing up, not feeling safe at all. And, I read
Right.
about him being a protector and a predator
Right.
at the same time. And it was
Yeah.
confusing to
Mhm.
grow up in that way.
And so when did you decide to make some good decisions?
So a lot of things happened, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he took his plane to Mexico and with his new fiance and a newfound brother I didn't know I have from Norway. And they went to Mexico, and on the way back, they hit a big, huge cloud, and the plane broke up in the air, and he died, and my brother died. And the fiance, Elizabeth, she lived. She fell 10,000 feet and landed in a tree in the jungles in Mexico and lived. And
Wow.
yeah, and I was 19. So I felt like all my life I had been fighting against him, and now he was gone. And it
Yeah.
was like the air got sucked out of the room, and I didn't know really who I was if I wasn't in opposition to him. Like, what am I going to do? Who am I? How am I going to succeed if I don't have to prove anything to anybody? It's like,
Yeah.
it's almost like I went off the deep end. And so that's when I started really
Mm.
drinking and using because I just was lost. And I was married at 18 to a man who was 32. He was an ex-con, and I didn't know. I just was so naive and
Mm-hmm.
so making bad choices. But so I just lost my train of thought. I got sober. I got sober 6 years later after he passed away. I had
Okay.
lived through this very destructive period of alcohol and cocaine, and it was fun for a while avoiding the pain. But I think that what happens is you can't put that off forever. It's like pain of your childhood, the pain of your life, or whatever. It just becomes something that has to be dealt with. If I wanted to be somebody in the world,
Mm-hmm.
I really had this belief inside that I was going to be somebody, that I wanted to be a writer, and I wanted to be a writer from very early on. I mean, when we were sailing to Tahiti,
Mm-hmm.
I was writing stories on the back of the logbook, telling the story of the day when we saw the whales and the dolphins and how we stopped the boat and went for a swim. And I was laugh and tell stories of who did what and all this other stuff. And I knew that I would write about that one day. And I don't know how I knew. It was just sort of a knowing that
Yeah.
experience is something I'm going to write about someday.
It sounds like you have this very strong spirit that was determined to have a life
Yeah.
and to have a voice and to have a presence in the world.
Yeah, and I don't know where that came from, but even at the very end, when I was living in my car, homeless, had been fired from my job, I had no money, and I was completely destitute in Redondo Beach or Hermosa Beach, there was a voice inside that said,
Mhm.
keep going, keep going. And I was like, no, I can't keep going. I can't imagine my life without drugs and alcohol. I can't imagine what would happen if I stopped using. I couldn't imagine what that would be. And I sort of had this miraculous moment happen. I had several miraculous moments happen that I kind of recognized at the time. And even though inside the small little voice was saying, you can do it, you can do it,
Mhm. Mhm.
and I don't know
Mhm.
where that comes from. God, spirit, a blessing
Mhm.
from above. I don't know, but I'm grateful. I'm very grateful. And I've had that little voice in me, and I've listened to it and not listened to it in my life.
Yeah.
And I always regret not listening because it
Mhm.
was the right thing to do had I just listened and followed
Yeah. Yeah.
the path. So,
I'm with you. I listen a whole lot more now.
but it's a skill, right? It's like not
Yes.
something that you can just say, "Oh, I'm going to listen," because it's such a small little whisper
Mhm.
inside that if you're
Mhm.
not paying close enough attention, you could just run right over it. I think I'm
Well,
pretty,
there was enough of you that was awake
yeah.
to be aware of it. Yeah. And so could you speak a little bit about like one of the miracles that showed
Sure.
up?
Sure. So the one that happened right at the end that actually got me sober was that my mother, who was a nurse and had been or working in a hospital and kind of she was like a nurse Jackie almost stealing medications back when they didn't have them all locked up. And
Mhm.
she was drinking and would go into mental hospitals and stuff, but she decided she was going to get sober and she checked herself into a New Beginnings treatment program in Century City in
Mm.
LA. And I was living in my car and I went to go see my little sister who was just sparkling clean and just going to college and working full time and just having this beautiful life. And I was just this loser living in
Mm.
my car,
Mm.
completely lost and
Mhm.
consumed with pain and grief about the abuse that I had never told anyone about. And
Oh,
the fact that my dad died and I loved him, but I hated him. I mean, there was just so many conflicting things going on. It's very complicated, like
right.
complicated grief, complicated love. I don't know what it is. But I went to go see my sister and she said, it's mom's birthday today. She's 39 or whatever. And she's checked herself into the hospital. And I said, let's go see her. And she said, bake her a cake while I'm at work. And so I baked her a cake and we went to Century City. And of course, they confiscated the cake because they thought we were trying to get
Sure.
take
Right.
some, take some drugs to her. But when
Mhm.
I saw her, it was like, Mom, she was new. She had this glow. She was
Mhm.
smiling in a way that I'd never seen her smile. And she had hope and she was talking about the future. Like she was like not the mom I mean, we had wished she would quit drinking for our whole lives. And
Right.
so all of a sudden I saw her differently and it sort of clicked in my brain. I want that. I want that.
Mm. Mm.
And so we went back to Karin's house and I sort of went
Mm.
on another 2-day bender. And when I got done with that, I called and I checked myself into another location of the recovery program down in Lakeside.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, I wanted to go there and be with her, but they wouldn't allow immediate family members there.
Sure.
One of the other
Yeah.
miracles that happened was that I came to Karin's house one day to visit her and she turned on the TV and it was the Today Show, and it was the day that the space shuttle launched into space and Christy McAuliffe died in a
Mhm.
fiery blaze, January 28th, 1986.
Mhm.
When I saw that, it just shook me to my core.
Yeah.
Mostly because I thought she's young and she's got so much hope and she is somebody and she's somebody and I want to be somebody that they could be proud of, that people could be proud of. And her parents must be so proud of her. And then she died, like
Right.
just in front of all of us. It was just,
Right.
it chokes me up even today because it
Mhm.
was just an emotional moment that one of the moments that brought me to check myself into a treatment program. So,
Yeah, and I'm a big believer in gifts and no matter what happens,
yeah,
and there's a reverberation off of that experience for you that was a tremendous gift.
yeah,
Just like seeing your mom released from the shackles of her addiction.
yeah,
It's such
yeah,
an incredible experience to see them anew. And for me, because I had a mom who was addicted to prescription medications, and my brother was a cocaine addict, and blah blah blah. So I've had the generational experience. And when my ex-husband, who was a Vietnam vet, post-traumatic stress, and an alcoholic, finally, years later, after I divorced him, we have a son, got sober. I had done enough work on myself where I was still in contact with him, and I got to see that sober guy
yeah,
that I always knew was there,
right.
who was an extraordinary man, captured by his own demons and his addictions too. And so that's just such a gift your mom gave you unknowingly.
Yeah. And it didn't hold for her. She didn't stay sober. I did. I mean,
Mm.
39 years later, I'm still sober from that experience. And
Wow.
I had another spiritual experience when I was in the treatment program and so all of these things were happening. And it was like I was awake enough to follow the goodness that was happening. And I decided this is going to be it. This is going to be my way. This is what I'm going to do. I don't know how,
Yeah.
but I'm going to do it.
Yeah. So what was the third one?
So the third one was about 2 weeks into the 28-day program. A panel of speakers, sober people, came into the treatment program and they were going to do their talk. I mean, we saw panels multiple times a week. And
Yeah.
I was sitting there and I was just still lost and in a fog and the whole thing. And this woman began to speak and she started speaking. And I don't know why, but it was like, something just froze in the room and I could hear her in a way that I didn't hear anyone else. And she
Mm-hmm.
talked about the life that she had on the streets and what had happened and how she got sober and how she got a sponsor and she 90 meetings in 90 days and how she's working
Mm-hmm.
the steps and how she's found her soulmate and that she's in love and they've been sober multiple years and they come to panels and share their experience, strength, and hope. And then she reached out to the guy sitting right next to her and grabbed his hand. And he looked at her and they were in love and they were sober and they were doing it. And I was like, and it was for a moment, it was just like the whole world stopped for me because it was like, that's what I'm going to be. I'm going to be sober. I'm going to be in a long-term relationship. I'm going to figure this out and do my work so that I can recover from all this trauma that I've been through.
Right. Right.
And it was a moment, and I went back to my room and I was writing feverishly, I am going to stay sober. I've just had an experience I'll never gonna forget, and just on and on and on. And it changed me. I was different from then on, and I was
Mm.
committed to the program. I was grateful that I had that experience. When I got out, I did exactly I stayed sober. I worked the steps. I got a sponsor. I did 90 meetings in 90 days. I got a job right away. I started making money. I started working my way up. I went to college. I snuck to community college at night to take one class because my dad told me I was stupid so many times. I thought he was right. And we didn't really go to traditional school because we traveled. I took the high school proficiency test to get out of high school, and I had to take it 4 times. So I thought for sure I'm stupid. But I took this class at night while I was sober, and I would go every week and I would do the homework and I turned it in. One class didn't tell anyone, not even my sponsor, and I got an A. I got an A in English. I was so excited. I went to my sponsor and I was like, I took this class and I'm not stupid. I'm seriously not stupid. I was 26, I think, years old. And she goes, Of
Mm-hmm.
course you're not. So I took 2 classes the next semester and eventually I got my AA degree. And
Mm-hmm.
they voted me the most outstanding English student in the college, and they gave me a scholarship, and I got accepted to UCLA, and I transferred to UCLA, and it was just like one good thing after another. And
Mm-hmm.
I had met my husband already in the
Mm-hmm.
program at a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And so this has been, I don't know. I don't want to say it's been easy because I've had a lot of hard work to do on myself with the insight
Yeah.
and the survival.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just kept pushing. I kept
Mm-hmm.
pushing to do better, I guess, and to understand
Mm-hmm.
what was happened. I've been in
Mm-hmm.
therapy for 35 years.
Yeah.
I've been
Yeah.
sober in the program for 39 years, and I'm working the steps. I'm talking on panels. I just talked on a panel a couple weeks ago and trying to give back what was given to me.
Yeah.
It's the full circle thing, it really is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you have this, well, I would say like this indomitable spirit
Yeah.
that was determined that it would rise through you.
Yeah.
Um, and and we all know not everybody has that. And you just kept showing up. I mean, and it's incredibly unusual, generally speaking, for somebody to get clean and sober and then not have a relapse.
Right. Exactly.
And so like with my son, 12 rehabs later, and the average is, I don't know, 5, 6, 7. So I just love the the determination, the courage. You can see it. You don't know how you're going to get there, but by God, you are going to get there.
I remember at one point in the program, right before I got out, the 28-day treatment program, they said, look around the room. There's 30 of you sitting in this room right now. 2 of you will
Mhm.
stay sober for the year. And I was like, I'm one. I am going to
Mm.
be one of them. Mark my words, I'm going to come back here in a year and I will be sober. It was just like
Mhm.
that. It was just like, I don't know. I wasn't going to
Mhm.
be stopped. I was going to do it. And even though my dad was gone and he wasn't pushing me to be, I was finding it on my own. I found that
Mhm.
strength and will on my own. And so, yeah, I don't know why that is, but I know it
Mhm.
can be a very hard path for a lot of people. And I'm not saying it was easy for me, but
Oh no, I don't think any of this is easy whatsoever. But what I do appreciate, and I think, we kind of share that kindred spirit of determination,
Yeah.
you know. Um I didn't have the experience of alcoholism or drug addiction. I probably my 20s or 30s was a workaholic, but I started doing my work early as, a teenager in high school, actually, because I recognized that the world that I was living in was a bit crazy. And
Yeah.
I was like, okay, well, this can't be like how everybody else is living. And so I remember as an 11-year-old going to the library and looking for autobiographies.
Wow.
Yeah, and the only ones at that time were either generals or football players,
Right, right, right.
but that's what I read because I wanted another window into a different way of doing life and success. And so we all kind of, I mean, not all of us, but that's the part I think that we share. It looks a little different, obviously,
Sure.
but we are both determined to break the generational patterns and live the life that we're here to live.
Exactly. Well, you had the wisdom early on to see
Mm-hmm.
and know that you weren't living in a normal situation. And I think I had a bit of that as well. Maybe not to see that it wasn't normal, but that to know that this is going to end someday and that if I just hang in there, I'm going to survive this somehow and find the tools. The National Council on Alcoholism used to do anger management workshops, and I took that and I did Laura
Mm-hmm.
Davis and Courage to Heal workbook in the 80s for incest survivors.
Mm-hmm.
I did all of that. And
Right.
I was always hungry looking for another self-help book to help me understand what was going on and how I could change. I didn't want to be, when my husband and I had kids, that was
Yeah.
their wall we hit because he was raised in a kind of a permissive house and I was raised in a very autocratic house. And so when we had kids, we were like, we didn't
Yeah.
so we didn't know how to parent because we both could only parent the way we had been parented. And that's like, you have to get new tools. I had to get new tools. And so we found a program called Redirecting Children's Behavior, which is based on positive parenting techniques. And we both took the class, and I ended up teaching the class just so we could learn more about it. And we ended up
Mm-hmm.
coming together that way, finding a tool that we could both use to
Mm-hmm.
raise our children in a way that was different from the way that we had each been raised. So,
Right.
I mean,
Right.
education is seeking out the answers is the
Mm-hmm.
key.
Yeah, I think it's a continual process and continual learning because I'm still learning.
Me
It's
too.
part of the reason why I love doing this podcast is because I get to speak to people like you, and everybody has these different stories and these different ways that they have risen out of kind of the ashes, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it's inspiring. And
Yeah.
so I want to hear stories of inspiration and thriving in the midst of and out of the chaos and disruption of trauma. And I think right now in the world that we're in, we're so surrounded by it. And so I think that at least the way that I tell my story is that my experiences are so I can be who I am in this moment because we need people of courage and fortitude and paying attention to spirit and all of that.
Listening to that small voice telling you which way you should be going, what you should be doing, picking the right path, all of those things. I mean, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in awe of you. That's great. I'm really happy you're out there because we need people who are bringing some wisdom because there have been millennium and of abuse in the world. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
families have been enduring dysfunction, abuse, alcoholism, and just all kinds of pain for so long. We need to talk about it. We need stories people can relate to. We need stories because not everyone walks the same path, like you were saying. I mean, some people just can't talk about it. And so it's better to read about it and to find the
Mm-hmm.
courage to read about it and to be inspired that way. And so for me, it's like I just want to be part of the solution to stop the abuse. And the only way we can stop it is
Mm-hmm.
by first exposing it and
Mm-hmm.
identifying it. All of these men who do what they want because they have all the power, this needs to shift a little bit. Women
Mm-hmm.
are tired of being,
Objects of their
thank you.
desires. Yeah, yeah, totally.
Yeah. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we need the good guys to stand up to the ones that
Mm-hmm.
are not the good guys. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. We need
Well,
to stop it. It's
yeah,
enough.
and I think by you writing your book and you talking, using your voice as kind of telling your story. I mean, I think for all of us, we've kind of decided that we're going to lay down the shame, we're going to lay down the judgment, we're going to lay down the shackles of keeping us quiet and isolated and silent because it's time to rise up and tell our stories,
Yeah,
because we're not alone.
that's
And by
right.
coming together, we can be stronger
Right.
and
And this is
change
just
the
the
narrative.
beginning. Who knows what it's going to look like in 50 years or 100 years, but I think I'm going to be at the foundation. I want to be part of the solution. So
Hmm.
even if
Hmm.
it doesn't, no changes happen for a long time, at least the ball is going to start rolling. The momentum is going to start
Hmm.
building. And we need these stories because it's just so common. No one has ever talked about it. We only started talking about it, what, in the 80s? Not even
Hmm.
publicly in the 80s, more
Oh, for sure.
publicly in the 90s. I mean, come on, it's been happening forever. And people have been drinking and using and hiding from their pain. And it's just a tragic, tragic circle that we all been going in.
I hear you. I think about it the same way too, is I don't know if I'm going to see the shift in my lifetime. I'm a few years older than you are. But I know I'm doing my part
Yes.
in the shift. And I believe that what I'm doing, what you're doing is playing a role in that shift. And that's
That's huge.
belief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's huge. It's all we can really do. And as long
Right.
as we're doing it, especially if we're doing it, because not everyone can do it. Not
Hmm.
everyone can find the inner strength to do this kind of public exposure, talking,
Hmm.
whatever you want to call it. A lot of people are quieter and much more subdued. We have to rely on
Hmm.
the ones who are loudmouth like me. And my husband, no, not my husband, but my dad used to call me. We used to call him the voice of America, and he used to call me a loudmouth. So
Okay. Well, you keep talking.
I know. Well, I will. He's not
Yeah.
shutting me up yet. So
So I am curious to ask you. I'm assuming the writing for you is a very cathartic
yeah,
experience. And even though maybe you didn't necessarily want to do 19, but I'm assuming were compelled to do 19.
exactly.
Okay.
You are getting me. You are really getting me because yes, I was compelled. I could not move on to another project. Even though I did a project in between 14 and 19, I wrote another book about
Hmm.
historical fiction. And it was sort of a placeholder for me in some ways. It was to keep me busy until I got to the work that I needed to do. And I knew I needed to do it. And I do feel a sense of freedom. It's not out yet, but the fact that it's a book and it's being printed as we speak and it's going to be
Hmm.
delivered to bookstores and it's going to go out in
Hmm.
the world. Yeah, I feel like I've accomplished a lot. And it's hard to celebrate successes. I don't know if you have that problem as well, but I'm a worker. I'm a one
Hmm.
that gets a lot of things done. I'm always looking at the next thing. But
Hmm.
it's also really important to stop and just take stock of the work that we've done and to
Hmm.
celebrate it
Hmm.
because it's hard work. You
Hmm.
can't just say it's nothing. It took everything out of me to write 19. I
Right.
had to relive everything. I had to go back into
Hmm.
therapy. I was just a wreck
Yeah.
for about 4 months while I was in the depth of it. And it took a toll. And I'm so glad to be on the other side. And secretly, I'm so glad to put this behind me. I want to write a fun book. I want to write something, horribly fun and that will sell millions, because these kind of books don't sell millions, unfortunately.
Right,
Even
right.
though they're very important.
They're super important. And I appreciate the pain of the journey to get it birthed.
Yeah, it is. And I always
Hmm.
knew I would write. So it is a blessing in a lot of ways because it's given me a platform to
Hmm.
do everything I wanted to do. And I'm glad I did it. And I'm glad I did my work. And now I wanted to write a romance.
Yeah, great.
My daughter wants to write a book with me. And so I think we're going to try to write a mother-daughter book. And I'm going to try to have fun doing that next.
Well, I want you to celebrate. And in October, when it is birth to the world, I do believe, I mean, the courage that it takes to do something like this, it's a compounding effect of these kinds of stories. And so
Mm.
I do believe that, what you have done is helping us move towards a tipping point
I
that
hope so.
matters.
I really hope so. That would be make it so worth it if that
Mhm.
was true. It's like adding these little bricks on top of little
Mhm.
bricks and little bricks.
Mhm.
And eventually you're going to get so many bricks that it's going to go over.
Right.
We live in a world right now that is taking the bricks down, and it seems like we're losing ground here. And I just,
Well, the way that I think about it, Leslie, is I believe that it all has to kind of fall apart for it to fall together.
well, that's true too. That's true too. So,
Yeah. And so as we witness and participate in the falling apart, I really honestly do believe it is going to come back together, reconfigured at a
we
higher
might,
level of consciousness.
we might not see it, but
That's what I'm saying.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm happy to play my role
Yeah.
in that birthing, that rebirthing.
I think we've lived in a pretty amazing time, the
Mm-hmm.
60s and the 70s and the 80s. I felt a lot of hope growing up. And
Mm-hmm.
even though I had so many challenges, I did feel hope. And I'm not sure if the kids today have as much hope as we had back then. So,
I have the opportunity to work with some of them as business owners. They're younger, in their 30s, some in their late 20s, and they are the ones that I get to work with are remarkable humans. And I'm working with one right now who is dealing with his own addiction issues. And he came to me because I was completely open about my experience with my son. I did a TED talk and all the things. I wrote a little book, blah, blah, blah. And he knew he could trust me.
yeah, that's great.
And so I do think by telling our story and being out there, having the courage to do that, we are going to attract the people that want to do the work,
Yeah.
which is going to have a significant impact.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, with your husband also dealing with substance use disorder, did he have any relapses?
Nope.
Wow.
I know. It's
Good
pretty
on both of
amazing.
you.
We were like a meeting, the two of us together. It's like
Right.
we took over his family business, which was an engineering business, and we kind of have been us against the world in some ways. For 35 years now, we've been together. And so
Mhm.
it is kind of amazing because I came from such disarray and such trauma. And it's like, how did I end up on my feet 35 years married? It's like a miracle. It's like a miracle
Mm-hmm.
today.
Mm-hmm.
I
Well,
don't know.
you have to both have brought that kind of commitment and
Yeah, he's amazing. He's not anyone I would have ever picked had I been in charge of the picking. I always picked the wrong guys. I always picked the wrong guys, the guys who got me in trouble, who were traumatizing and they wanted me to support them. They didn't have health insurance. They didn't want to have a future. They just wanted to
Mhm.
live for today. They just wanted to party. Those were the kind of guys I picked. The surfers, the construction workers, the kind of guys that were good looking but didn't have
Mhm.
when my sponsor said, make a list of the guy you want, make a list and put it on the wall and look at it every day.
That's awesome.
The first thing on my list was a college degree. I just wanted a guy that I wasn't going to have to take care of. I
Right.
wanted a partner to stand beside me and go forth. I didn't want to be carrying somebody. So David has a degree. He's got a master's degree. So
Mm-hmm.
that was the first thing.
Yeah.
And
Well,
he's
congratulations.
sweetheart, and he's not
Yeah.
like anyone else, and he's wonderful.
That's very cool. And you
Yeah,
have three kids?
two kids.
Two kids.
I have a
Okay.
son who's 30 and a daughter who's 28, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they're both wonderful too. Yeah, not that they don't
Mm-hmm.
have their challenges themselves in
Sure.
this era or whatever, but they're
Right.
great and yeah, it's wonderful. I've always wanted to have a family. That's the other thing. When I was younger, I knew I would be married and have a family. I just didn't know how it was going to work out, and
Right.
here we are. Uh,
Yeah.
very happy. Good life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Highly recommend sobriety.
Totally with you.
Yeah, 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 exactly.
Yeah. So, do you have any sense about how it is for your sister to have witnessed your addictions and then to witness your coming to life?
My older sister passed away, and she was
Mhm.
also addicted and got sober
Mhm.
for a short time, but then had a relapse, and ended up overdosing. So
Okay.
that was very tragic for our family, and we were all painfully aware of that was probably the more typical story for
Mm-hmm.
an alcoholic and an addict. My younger sister, she is not a recovering alcoholic at all, and she has made an amazing life and is married with 3 kids and very happy. And I think she's proud of me. I think she would be talk a lot about it. But yeah, I mean, this is sort of the path I chose, and she's chosen a different path, a more business approach. She has more degrees than I do. And
Mm-hmm.
anyway, she's very successful.
Yeah. So, for anybody who's listening from a family perspective or a friend perspective, what would you tell them?
About what specifically?
Well, I think for me, it's
Healing?
like you're not alone.
Yeah,
There is hope, even
yeah.
when it looks really bad. Those kinds of things.
Keep believing in yourself. Do some writing, do some journaling, find out who you are. You can't really claim yourself until you know who you are. And if you're using and drinking, you don't really know who you are because you're all covered up with all kinds of stimuli or whatever.
Mm,
I don't know. I think believing in yourself and listening to that still voice. And you have to listen for the whisper, and then
mhm,
cultivate the whisper. Listen to it. And it's so hard. It's so hard. It's almost like it's right there. It's just right there. I thought it was right. It's
mhm,
just, but then it becomes stronger. The more you listen,
mhm.
the more it becomes stronger. And so
Mm.
I tell my kids that all the time. They're like, yeah, mom, I know. The inner voice, I know, I know. And I'm like, but that's the key. That's the key. That's your spirit. That's your truth. Listen to that truth.
Right.
So and don't give up hope
Yeah.
because you can do it. I believe in you. You can do it. If I can do it, you
Mhm,
can do it. Keep
mhm,
fighting. Don't give up. Just one day at a time. Just move the needle a tiny bit every day, and it adds up. It really
mhm,
adds up. Just make AA your religion. Just do everything they say. The steps, the sponsor, the meetings, everything. It's so important for a foundation in
mhm.
sobriety.
Yeah. Whoa, we're coming up against the edge of our time.
Thank
I've,
you.
I've kept you longer than I had promised you, but I just want to say thank you for writing this book.
Thank you for
I
having me.
know absolutely it matters. You matter, and your story's super inspiring. I love the small tiny voice that just keeps growing, and you being compelled to kind of slug through and birth this book. And so, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, how can they do that?
Well, I have a website and you can contact me through the website or my
Okay.
social media. I have Instagram and Facebook.
Okay. And what's your website?
Is my name,
Okay.
lesliejohansennack.com.
Great. Okay. All right. Well, we will definitely include all of that information in the show notes.
Thank you.
And if we get this positioned right, we could link it to the book. So,
That would be
uh,
great. Well,
yeah.
it's up for pre-sale now on,
Oh, okay. Great.
yeah, on Barnes and Noble and Amazon and
Amazon and
everywhere. Bookshop
mhm,
and everywhere has Simon and Schuster. Yeah. Everyone has a pre-order link, so that would be
super,
great.
super. Great. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I want to say thank you for having me. It was been a
Mm-hmm.
pleasure. Yeah.
Great. I appreciate you.
Okay. You too.
Okay. All righty.